We're on location at Seagate Communities Forest Park Estates. I'm with Sam Klein of Sam Klein Construction, and he's going to give us some information about how to pick a good lot. Sam, how are you today?
Hi, Ted. How you doing? A couple of things as a property owner you want to keep in mind when purchasing a lot. The elevation is key. The material that is on the lot is key. And let's start with the material first. If you're buying this lot, for example, the natural vegetation that exists, you want to work into your home plan. The natural vegetation, you don't have to water, you don't have to fertilize it, so it will exist without a lot of care. A lot of people like the palmettos, a lot of people don't. In picking it as far as elevation, normally in Palm Coast, you're going to need to be, your house slab is going to need to be 1 foot above the road elevation. So when you're looking at, in this development here, of course, the paving is not in, but these lots are high and dry. They have mature vegetation and very good material. But on this lot, for example, you're going to probably have just a little bit of fill for the pad. Again, if the paving was in, you could look at it, you could eyeball it, and you could tell pretty close to what you might need.
What's the pad, Sam?
All right, the pad is what's elevated for your house concrete slab to actually go on. Your yard will be contoured from that slab. If your house slab is raised 2 feet, then obviously you want a gentle slope away from there for your yard. So, you know, you'll have to add fill around the house slab as well. The less you raise your house slab, the less you have to raise your yard elevation. In some cases, there are a lot of mature oaks on this lot. If for some reason it was low, you can even get into boxing those oaks out. You can't fill around them. You can fill around palm trees. One thing to think about in regard to cost is if you wholesale clear a lot, so you take everything off and you want to plant new vegetation, the cost relative to clearing is how many loads you haul out. The first thing you do is you bring a loader in, you knock the trees down, you chainsaw them up, you load them into a dump truck, and you haul them to a landfill. So a big part of the cost is the trucking and is the dump fee costs. Both those are relative to how much material you take off of a lot. If the lot's very thick, then you'll be hauling more material off. If you wholesale clear the lot, you'll be hauling, it'll be costing you more as you haul more off. So keep that in mind when looking at a lot.
Sam, you're right. Some people love the palmettos, some people want them taken out. I understand when you take them out that they leave a big hole. Could you talk a little bit about that and about how much a load of fill dirt costs these days?
Well, the hole, you're also going to run into something else. When you do the stripping, you're going to be taking out the palmetto roots. Your pine trees or your oak trees, they also have a pretty large root system. They're shallow. An oak tree's root system is almost like a pancake because of the high water table in Florida. But you will rake that lot. You will rake out the palmetto roots. Of course, when you knock the trees down, you always want to take the trees down before you chainsaw them because the root will come up with it. It makes it a lot easier to get it out of the ground. But then you'll lose the top 8 inches of material there in the raking to get the root system out. When you do a clearing for a lot, the first thing that happens once you've completed that is there's an inspection that takes place before you can put any fill on that lot. And when the county comes out and does the inspection, they're going to look for root mat to make sure you've got all the root mat out from under where the slab location of that house. So palmettos, yeah, they have an extensive root system. If you don't get all that root system out, they will definitely grow back as well.
And Sam, about how many loads of dirt would it take to fill this lot, and about how much is a load these days?
On the norm, a load of fill dirt's going to run you about $90 a load, which they're 18-yard trucks. An average lot in Palm Coast probably takes about 10 loads.
About 10 loads at $90 a load, about $900, but you still have to pay to cart it away, so the cost is more than just the fill dirt. Sam, there are some unsuitable lots, muck lots and things like that. Tell us a little bit about what makes a lot unsuitable.
Well, your first key, if you're looking at one of those lots, is normally the elevation of the lot will be below the road elevation. Probably when that area was developed, they had to fill for the road. An indication also is that if you see cypress trees, bay trees, that type of vegetation, you have a good indication that that's a wet lot. If it's a wet lot, then normally there's quite a bit of organic material that has built up there, and that material will need to be removed. Through the years, you know, most of Palm Coast, well, in Palm Coast, you have quite a variety. Have seen muck pockets in Palm Coast as deep as 8 or 10 feet deep. But most of those are in the bay heads. They're not normally used for residential lot areas. But if you run into a situation to where you have 3 or 4 feet of unsuitable material, that material will need to be removed and replaced, which will raise the cost of your lot.
Sam, what about a bore test? If there's a suspicious lot, I understand that you can do a bore test. What's that?
Correct. There are numerous labs in, well, most of them are in Volusia County, that will come out and they will do an auger boring of a lot for you. You could do that on a suspected unsuitable lot that's very low. You could also take post hole diggers and possibly, you know, dig down 18 inches and go through the material and find there's good material below it. Where you're most apt to need a bore, though, is on lots that have been filled in the early days of Palm Coast, and some of the early contractors buried some debris. Those lots are where you usually find someone doing testing, and what prompts that testing is because historically some areas were known to have that debris buried because lots adjacent had the same problem. So if a lot adjacent had the same problem, there's reason to suspicion the next lot that maybe it will have the same problem. But if they do that bore, what they'll do, they'll go down to resistance. They may hit a stump at 6 feet. They know there's material buried that deep or something of that nature. So then you go in, you can dig a test hole to tell exactly how deep it is, and then costs are provided for removing that material and replacing it. And that can be fairly expensive, maybe an average cost, depending on the depth, maybe $5,000.
And Sam, you've been here for quite a while, so you pretty much know the history of the town. Give us a second and just tell us a little bit. I know you've transitioned from residential. You're doing mostly commercial work now, aren't you?
Correct. We're a general contractor. We do industrial, commercial construction as well as land development. We're a little unusual because we're one of the few contractors that does its own site work. But yes, through the history of Palm Coast, I'm an ex-ITT employee. I personally think ITT did an excellent job in developing Palm Coast. I think most of the lots in Palm Coast are great lots. But like any development that has 42,000 acres in it, you're going to have some bad lots once in a while.
Well, thanks very much, Sam. And if you'd like any more information about a lot that you might own, or if you'd like some information to supplement what we've talked about today, please give me a call.